and roast. This is an opportunity for me to give back to the writing community. I wanted to thank the people in the organizations that have supported my writing habit since I've been here in the Tri-Cities. And that's been the focus of this particular event, is that I want to say thank you and to toast you. And I also suggested that the people that know me, that they have an opportunity to roast me as well. So, just something to entertain the group, and also to talk a little bit about your organization and what you can do for writers. So we'll start off. Just a little history of who I am for those of you that don't know me. My name is Rose Klix, and I've been writing poetry for 50 years. I just discovered that recently because I put together a collection and decided that I wanted to put it all into one book, and guess what? It turned out to be more than one book. And I can't say that they're all superior poems. It's, through the years. I started out when I was 12 years old, so, there's going to be some 12-year-old poems in there, some teenage angst, as well as poems about taking care of my mother and about my brother dying and things like that. So it's a broad range. And then I also took the religiously inspired poems that are in that collection. I also put them into their own collection. And I gave you a copy of that as a gift. And hope you enjoy it. And if you do, write a nice review on Amazon. If you don't, like they say at Barter, keep your mouth shut. So we'll start off with one of the first ones that I met, and that's Carol Jackson. I met Carol at the Lost State Writers Guild and have attended the ones that are in all three of the cities of the Tri-Cities. And it's been a good organization for networking with other writers, and I've met some of the other writer group people through that. And so I thank you, Carol, for organizing that and keeping it going. So tell us a little bit more about the organization.
If you can't hear me, I'll raise your hand. I am Carol Jackson, and good afternoon. It's good to see you all here. I hope the rest of your friends will come. I love to see old faces and new faces because I feel like there's potential then for the new faces to become part of the Lost State Writers Guild. I have written out something that I want to say here. It was approximately 1995 when Kara Carden and her husband Jim published the Old State of Franklin News and History magazine from their basement in Johnson City. They were fresh out of college and newly married, and they were so brave. Did anybody ever see the Old State of Franklin magazine?
Yes.
A couple people. Well, it was very, very interesting and educational. A year or so later, Kara put a notice in the paper for area writers to meet at a particular restaurant at noon. In January of about 1996, 10 writers came, and so began the Lost State Writers Guild. I went to a meeting in February of 1998 and had attended for 5 months when Kara told me that she and Jim were moving to Nashville, where her family lived. She was very concerned that the guild would dissolve if someone did not volunteer to take over the leadership. Of course, she was hoping I would step up and fill her shoes. Without any protests from the dozen or so who attended the July meeting, I became the leader of a group I knew nothing about just yet. I was as green as a shamrock. But in the last 15 years, I have seen the Guild grow to nearly 60 paid members, that's this year, and many other people who occasionally attend. We have had 150 plus people on our list through the years. They come, they go, and a few come again. We have published 3 books called The Lost State Writers' Voices. This is volume 3, so we've had 1, 2, and There is one on the table. It's for sale for $5, and this one's for sale for $5. It's a collection or anthology of 34 of our members when this was published. So it is fiction, poetry, and nonfiction. We support the local writers groups in any way we can, such as sharing information, encouraging wannabe published writers. At the meetings, we have speakers or writing exercises or subject related to the how-tos of writing and getting published. We have projects and ideas for the coming year. We meet the first Thursday of every month except July. More information is on our website, which was created by Sylvia Nichols. And the brochure that we recently had published is on the table. It's beautiful. In any group or community, an individual comes along who has great enthusiasm and energy to be a cheerleader for her passion. In this case, I commend Rose Klix for her hard labor to get her 3 books of poetry and prose published this year. I will not roast the lady who has become a dear friend, even if she wants me to try to think of something naughty. And so, as a little token of my appreciation for your work, Rose, toward lifting the creative goals of those you have touched, I went through my unused yard sale items and was thrilled to discover this t-shirt. It's unopened, unused, and I don't know anyone else who has been to South Dakota except Rose. It says South Dakota on it.
Oh, cool.
Where did it come from? I have no clue. But it's been waiting all these years for me to think, now what can I do to be teasing Rose? And lo and behold, it jumped out at me. But it's in a little bag, Rose.
Thank you.
You're quite welcome. So you never know if you hold on to it long enough for your yard sale. It's a small, and it may be too small, but you can wear it in bed. So.
Thank you.
Life is strange. Thanks for all you have done and will do in Northeast Tennessee. You must never, never, never move away. Your Rose roots are growing deeper into our rich soil and rich heritage in these Blue Ridge Mountains and foothills. I love you, Brooks.
Thank you. Judy Donnie is here, though. And Judy represents the Watauga branch of the National League of American Penwomen, which is a national organization of professional writers. And one of their members had sponsored me to be a member. They do meet in Elizabethton, and that's also on that listing. So if you want to come up and talk a little bit about the organization.
I have been a member of the Watauga branch of the National League of American Penwomen, and I'm the president. I'm an artist. The National League of American Penwomen is for all the arts, whether it's music, writing. It started out as a writers group. It's over 100 years old, and it's a wonderful organization. We encourage people to work on their projects, and we kind of let them know that they need to stick to their schedule of writing or doing art or whatever your interest is. And because I've been a member of the Watauga branch, I've been inspired by some of the writers that are in that group. Rose Klix, Martha Culp, Martha Query, Marian Artrip. Marian Artrip is the one who told me about the Lost State Writers Guild, and she asked me to attend that and be a member to encourage me to write. I'm not gifted as a writer, but I learned something about writing. And I learned it from Rose. Practice. Practice, practice, practice. And Rose knows a lot about practice. And if it doesn't work, you throw it out. And she knows what I'm referring to. But it's not just her writing. It applies to every area of our life. I do like Rose She inspires me. I loved her play with the prom tryouts. It was a wonderful program. I think some of you would have attended it, but I did enjoy the play. And I'd like to see her do some more of that. A rose by any other name is still a rose. It's a Catherine, a Kathy, a CA, or just plain Rose. Her work is like a rose. It's soft, smooth, and sharp. Her poems are layers of emotion, color, and texture. They're beautiful as any rose that I know. I am pleased and blessed to know Rose, by any other name, is still a rose. Thank you very much.
I don't know how intense these roasts are, but they make me feel good. Next then is the Appalachian Authors Guild, and they also have a Appalachian Writers Symposium once a year. And the Appalachian Authors Guild, I think a lot of times it's most useful when you actually have a book and so that they can help you market it. Maybe they're going to be moving into helping new writers a little bit more in the future because they're talking about doing critique groups. But they, I think, have been very instrumental. Well, I know they're very instrumental to me because they sponsored 2 book signings for me for next month, one at Perkins and the other one at Piccadilly. And so I'm very grateful to the Appalachian Authors Guild and to know the professional writers there who have gone before me. So I'm toasting them and asking Sylvia to come up and
representing the Appalachian Authors Guild. I'm a board member and webmaster, so I'm chairman of the website and newsletter committee, so it puts me on the board. I've been on the committee for the symposium ever since it was instituted 5 years ago, except this past year I resigned because that was just so much to do. I don't have time to do it all. Connie Ware is our president, and she could not be here because of her prior commitment, so she asked me to represent the guild. We are quite active, a guild, with most of our members residing in either Southwest Virginia or Northeast Tennessee, although we have members in other areas, Western North Carolina, and even we have had even from out west. We meet, have general membership meetings every 2 months, usually at a restaurant in Abingdon, Virginia, but sometimes there are other places. And our board meetings are also in Abingdon. Our biggest event, as Rose mentioned, is the Appalachian Heritage Writers Symposium, which is held in June each year on the campus of Southwest Virginia Community College in Richlands. It's a very nice event, and we have always gotten a lot of compliments on it from the attendees. It's not really expensive for everybody to get a whole lot for your money, and so everybody enjoys it and learn too. We have a great lineup this year. We have I think Rose included one, and then there are others on the table back there. Everybody didn't get one about the lineup for this year. Bob Inman from North Carolina is keynote speaker, and then we have workshops with other great teachers and. They're teachers, writers, and we have a copyright workshop. A professor from the Appalachian School of Law will be there teaching on, I don't think it is copyright. Yeah, I guess it is too. As you see, I'm not on the committee, so I don't have a whole lot of details. But if you can go, it's June 14th, 15th, so I think you would really enjoy being there. Our website is Appalachian Authors Guild, AppalachianAuthors.com. To a blooming rose. Rose, I hardly know you, but on second thought, I do. I know you are a poet. You're a fiction writer, too. I know that you like roses, a fine tribute to your name. Pastiche of poetry of 1, 2, 3 could surely bring you fame. For you, another year on earth has made you stronger yet. A rose that's ever blooming, and I'm so glad we met. For myself, I wanted to say something too. I've known Rose for a few years. I first met her several years ago when she joined the Lost State. We could tell right away, of course, that she wasn't one of us by the way she spoke, but we liked her anyway, and she stuck around. She's not a native of these Appalachian mountains, but as the old joke goes, she got here as fast as she could after retiring from government service and has grown to love the area, she tells us. She's even picked up our accent, sort of. Perhaps she'll read her poem for you sometime called Southern Lady. It's in her book, the first one, isn't it?
No, it's in the second.
Second one. In that accent, I had the pleasure of hearing her read it at a poetry reading last month. While I was up at Virginia Tech. It was very nice. She should read it. I was hoping she would today. So here's to our Rose. We look forward to her being part of our groups for many years, and we love her by any other name.
I started at the Writers Circle. I visited a couple of times a few years back, and then as time permits, I do drop in once in a while. And it was part of the senior center. I don't know if it's still, maybe you can let me know, if it's still part of the senior center or if it's open to all ages or not. But it's a critique group, sort of, but not real harsh critique groups. And some critique groups can get to be quite harsh. But Rosemary Shields would like to come up and talk a little bit about...
I didn't bring a T-shirt or a poem, Rose, but,
That's okay. You can roast me.
but I can roast. Oh, I'm ready to roast you.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, I think the Writers Circle has been active at the Johnson City Senior Center for at least 15 years, and probably some of you know more about it than I do. It's been there a long time. But about 3 years ago, the woman who had been leading it was leaving, and so Vega Krimmer contacted me and asked me to come in and asked me if I would take over this group. And I didn't know anything about it. I wasn't sure of what was going on. It turns out that a friend of mine, Jim Dahlman, whom she asked first to lead the group, suggested me. I was newly retired, and so I went in and talked to Vega, and we got to talking, and I told her that I had taught members of the U.S. Infantry, Big Red One. Now, I have to say about Rose, she was smart enough to come, and she read some of her poetry, and even a short story, Rose, that I remember vividly, so it must have been pretty good. But then she wised up and thought, why am I going to these meetings when I could be writing? Right? And so she did. She went out and wrote and had, I think, quite a bit of success in her writing. But she has come back several times, and every time she comes, she brings the name or address or website of something that would be helpful to us. And you have encouraged us so very much in that way. She visited us a couple of weeks ago and showed us some things that I wasn't aware of. So you have been a help and encouragement to the writers of the Writers Circle. But I won't forgive you because you're out doing your thing instead of critique with us. But I encourage you to come, bring what you've written, and we will tell you what's good about it. We will also help you to make it better if you can. We will encourage you to publish. We will encourage you to read. And what else do we do? Awesome. We have a lot to do. And Rose, we're glad that you came to be part of us. Thank you.
And Laura came to one of the Lost State groups, and she talked to us about an upcoming storybook fair. And then I think they decided to start it as of next year rather than this year, because then they can have a little bit more chance to get everything pulled together. So I don't know a lot about it other than the flyer that she had sent out originally. So I'll let her talk about it and what it can do for writers. Winnie, I'll run.
I have to say that one of the best things that happened for the Storybook Fair was being introduced to the Lost State Writers Guild. And Rose has been a source for so many contacts. It's been so very helpful, and there's been a lot of support from the members from the organization. This is the brochure. It's pretty primitive at this point, but we will have professional ones made up. I'm just making these as pass out handouts right now to introduce people to what's going on. We will be having this event on the 22nd of March in 2014. There will be vendors tables. We have international, national, and local storytellers and authors who will be there. Some of them we will highlight, others we will showcase, and then we will have 4 authors that are actually presenting and 4 storytellers that will be presenting. Along with them, we're in partnership with ETSU Storytelling Department, and they will have students there. This is an opportunity for them to get credit for community and public performance. And we will have vending tables, and I think the fees on those tables are $20. For those that we highlight and feature, they get that as part of their package. I have information with Lost State Writers Guild, and they can give you information there. My email is on the list signing in today. And we have just recently partnered with Three Seasons Community Theater that had recently developed in Elizabeth, in Carter County. They are doing several contests. One of them that I'm aware of is a playwriters contest. There's, I think there's a cash prize for that, and also the winning playwrights will be performed there in their theater. So that's a great opportunity for anyone who's interested in that. I have more information and contact information for that and for what's going on with the Storybook Fair. Then I'll email to Rose, and then she can just send out to everyone from her email list here. So we're really happy to have this going on because this started from, the Storybook Fair started from a literacy program I was developing with Parks and Rec at Park and Recreation Center. I started out partnering with ETSU's Appalachian Storytelling Organization. Some of the storytellers were coming in for credit hours, and they worked with the children. And they were the first consistent, responsible people that I had been able to find to come in and work in something in literacy with the children and the adults. And so when they said they would come, they were there. They scheduled their times, they came in, and they were there regularly working with those who are underserved, underprivileged, who will have problems in literacy more often than the rest of us. And so everything just kind of evolved out of that, trying to develop a literacy program. And through the support of Appalachian Storytelling at ETSU, we've been able to develop this whole program. And so the regular annual event, the big event for our literacy program, will be the Storybook Fair each year. So we're really excited because we've had so much support, and those who are interested in partnering with us to help us through the financial part of it. And we'll also be advertising for host families, host individuals, for those who come in to perform. Most of them are very excited about the idea of staying with someone in the area so that they can learn about what goes on here and what the South is like and that kind of thing, especially if they're coming in from out of country. So it's an opportunity culturally as well as a literacy opportunity. And we will be scheduling some of these writers and storytellers to be doing workshops and programs through the week prior to, which would be the 17th through the 21st of March in 2014. So they'll be able to visit some of the schools, visit ETSU, visit some libraries. Maybe during that time, some of you will have your organization's meeting and they can do something in a presentation invitation for that too. But the idea of us being able to have a kind of regional event that we can do annually that is for literacy, for writing and storytelling is something that's very exciting to us. So I'm very grateful to Lost Days with Sylvia and Carol and all the information Rose keeps emailing to me. So,
Thank you for having this event today. And I want to tell you that my path crossed with Rose's since 2008 when my wife and I first moved here. But it was not really a significant thing because Rose was in the Alliance for Continued Learning. Rose was in the Newcomers Club, and we see each other at meetings, but I really didn't know Rose until I joined the Writers Circle that Rose Marie told you about. And at the Writers Circle, I heard some of Rose's poetry and some of her stories, and then I felt like I knew Rose a lot better. And just one of the great people that I've met since I moved to this area. Let me tell you a little bit about myself first in relation to this Alliance for Continued Learning. I spent 40 years relating, maybe almost 50 years, relating only to contractors, engineers, and technicians. I was an engineer, and I loved it. And when I retired, I missed it. And I'm still missing it. And I didn't even have any friends through that whole 40 or 50-year career span, I mean, close friends, that weren't engineers or technicians. I didn't know anybody from liberal arts. So when we first moved here, there was an ad in the paper for the Alliance for Continued Learning, and one of the reasons we chose Johnson City was because of the university. So we signed up, we moved here in July, and in September the classes started over there. And what an awakening, for me. I mean, I could get along with these liberal arts people, and I could learn something from them. And the writer's part, the component was already gone by the time I got here. But then I got involved with some political causes here in Johnson City and doing websites and writing, and I thought I need to improve my skills. So I had seen an article in the Johnson City Press about the Writers Circle, so I came in there, and I thought somebody was going to help me write my political things that I was handing out. And everything wrong. But they got me to see the other side of me, if you will. It was just a real experience. And the only thing that Rosemary didn't tell you is that in this group that we have every other Thursday, second and fourth Thursdays, that there is a time limit. So people like me to get up there and go on and on and on. She'll shut us up and go on to the next person.
These are some special friends of mine because they are poets. And this is Jim Collier, and he comes all the way from Abingdon. And this is Sharon Fox. That's the other Sharon. She said her name's Sharon Fox as well.
Oh, okay.
And this is David Shields. And I think somebody told me they knew a David Shields, but I don't know if it's the same one or not. So anyway, and they are all part of the Poetry Society of Tennessee, the Northeast branch. Anybody in particular want to pipe in on what it is?
Well, because Rose is bashful, I'll add that like 3 years ago, was it 3? Rose was the, a founder.
The whatever, yeah.
And our first president for the first couple of years, and although she'll, I don't know if she's proud of saying that now or not, but it has kind of flourished and thrived. And first we met, there were only like 5 of us, and I guess the membership's up to close to 20 now. I don't know. It meets the second Saturday of each month at Northeast State, the college right there on grade 1. And,
At the library.
In their library, at room 226. It's been really, really great. I'll tell you a little bit more about that later when I have something else to say. But since the beginning, so anyway, it's done very, very well. It's a super group. And I must say that I can say this from the bottom of my heart. Everyone who has participated in that group of these years, the writing, mine might be the exception, but the writing and the quality of the writing has really, really improved. And we have evidence to show that. But,
Evidence in the way of?
winning many, many contests.
Okay. And publications.
And publications. Books and publications and books and all that kind of stuff. So.
And each month's meeting has a program planned by one of our members and has readings by each of our members. We don't do a lot of critiques at the meetings themselves, but we do offer an occasional critique group meeting separately as well. So the programs have varied from writing on a topic to how to self-publish, how to use CreateSpace, dealing with graphic artists and covers. I could give you a list a mile long of what our programs have been, but each month is something different, and they've all contributed to our success as writers.
And then I'll say that afterwards, we go get something to eat.
So continue learning much more.
And talk
Talking about more about poetry and everything. But this, I'm into my second year there, and I've noticed just from being a part of the group, I've never been a part of a poetry group, though I've been writing for a number of years, and just by being there, hearing other people's poetry, as well as because when we read, even though it's not a critique session, when we read at those meetings, we can ask for feedback, and getting that kind of feedback, I found that it's really encouraged me as a writer, as well as improved my writing. It's been an awesome experience.
And sometimes Rose has had much input, because I remember one time I read a poem, and she's inspirational. After I read my poem, she said, after hearing that, I know I can write much better than that. So it's an inspirational kind of meeting.
So I joined the state organization of the Poetry Society of Tennessee. Well, they are based in Memphis, and I had been sending in to them for poetry contests and getting some awards and so forth. And I went to their award ceremony, and I said, "What do I have to do to start one of those groups here?" And they said, "Oh, we would love to have you do that because we're the only one in the state, and we would love to have another connection there." So, so I did. And the organizational meeting had 2 people. It was Janice Hornberg and myself. And we tried again the next month, and I think, like Jim said, I think he was the one at the next month. And then we had the core 7, the first 7 that first joined, and so they were the 7. So you can build from just a couple, and pretty soon you've got a whole group of people that are wonderful people that can help each other. And now we have approximately 20 people. I don't know the exact total right now. So, but the state organization is also affiliated with the national organization, the National Federation of State Poetry Societies. So anybody that joins the local chapter is also a member of the state chapter and the national chapter. And as a benefit, you get reduced entry fees into your contests. And it's very rewarding to have somebody out of your area give you awards. So, anything else?
I said, well, I stammered around, and she said, well, if you're a poet, you know it. If you're a poet, you show it. It's like a garden. You have to grow it. And then to make it go well, you have to hoe it. So you hoe it, you grow it, you show it. And she said, see what I mean? It just catches on after a while. You know what to do. So she said, but I don't like that idea about you being if you're a poet, you got to know it, you got to show it. And I said, well, I don't know exactly what to do, because I just moved here from Texas. I worked at the Johnson Space Center. I was shoveling in the space station, and I'm a scientist. She just looked at me and she said, oh, I'm sorry. In other words, you don't know what you're doing when it comes to writing. I said, yeah, that's right. She said, well, I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you, believe me. And so she helped me. And I have to show you the results. And so here, this was the results right here. And you think, oh boy, that's a lot of poems. Nah, I had a lot more poems than this. This was the plan to become a poet. For those of you who know Rose, you know exactly what I mean. You have to have a plan. Are you familiar with Russell Aycock and this teaching mentor? You got to become familiar. There's a few things you have to do. You have to have a plan, because without a plan, it's a plan for failure. And we don't want you to fail. Now, there are certain organizations around here that during the poetry month, they have you write a poem every day. Well, that's just not enough. For you, where you are, you have to go so far. You need to write 5 poems a day. I want you writing 5 poems a day, and maybe at the end of the year, you might have 1 or 2 that are okay. And so then, so we did this plan. She did this plan. And this plan, I'll show you right here. It's entitled Out of the Darkness. She said, that's an appropriate name for this plan. And she said that I'd be looking here and I'd got to memorize it. And she had objectives. And one of the objectives was, again, you have to write 5 poems a day. And then she went on and she said, well, I think you probably need to become more familiar with your views. And to get to your views, to find out what you have within, you may have to start reading some of the writings from the Far East. And you know about Bhagavad Gita. Huh? And she said, well, you have to know about some of these philosophers also. I want you to learn about Confucius and Aristotle and Socrates. And beside that, what about, you need to read Anthony Power's Awakening the Sleeping Giant Within. And maybe you have to become much more familiar with this strategic management. Strategic management is a plan you have. And in this plan, you have to have some objectives. And you have to be able to picture and envision what ideal would be like. Now, obviously, if you're going to be a poet, ideally, you're going to have some good poems. And you're going to publish those poems. And you're going to go on reading all through that kind of stuff. And so there was a whole list. There was this list. She gave me lists of books. And the first one was Poets for Dummies. And then she said, you have by all Bert Jacobs' book? No, I don't have that. That's not good. You might also benefit from reading Joseph Campbell's Man of a Thousand Faces. And then we went all through this kind of stuff. And so some of the results were, if any of you have ever seen Rose's list of objectives, you needed to come to Northeast State. And we'd have our objectives for the year. Not only write 5 poems a day, but you have to enter. Try to enter 40 or 50 different contests. She said after a couple of years, you'll be able to enter some years in contests. And so I thought, well, wow, I didn't know poetry was all about that. I didn't know poetry was all about that. Have to be speaking about that. We have time. So she took me to a place where I practiced enough and I wrote enough that actually, last month I was able to win first place. First place in that. Couple other times too, but anyway, this is the Tennessee Poetry Society. And this poem's entitled A Better Me. And along the line, she asked me if I knew any poetry, and I started to stuff about Mary Had a Little Lamb. She said that wasn't good enough. She said, well, you probably read Dr. Seuss, haven't you? I said, well, yes. She said, well, start there if you would. So I wrote one entitled A Better Me. Were I to be a better me, who would you like to see? A kinder, gentler soul, always in control? Consistent in that role? Must I change the color of my hair, be stylish in the clothes I wear, improve my speech, and never swear? Must I become more caring, less cautious and more daring, less selfish and more sharing? Some things I would have to change, others I must rearrange and rid myself of all things strange. Work harder, become wealthy, eat right and become more healthy, less apathy, more empathy. Were I to be a better me, who would I like to see? Someone who has many friends, one with love that never ends, one when wrong will make amends, one who has found meaning, never guilty of demeaning, often smiling, sometimes dreaming, one consumed with charity, hope and faith with clarity, finding strength in verity, someone who is free, who finds wonder in the stars and the sea, who knows God and eternity. P.S. from Rose. If you were to be what I want to see, you'd stop writing poetry. Oh, I'm sorry. Sometimes she speaks softly, and with that South Dakota drawl and accent, she said, well, I'd like you to write more poetry.